Tatooine burned beneath twin suns, its wastelands quiet but never still. Sandstorms swept across the dune sea, whispering secrets long buried. Among those grains of dust and memory, something dark moved, a shadow not seen for years. A hunter, cloaked in silence and vengeance. Darth Maul had returned, not as a phantom, not as a ghost, but as rage made flesh. His ship touched down on a ridge beyond Mos Espa, where the desert met bone and ruin. No one saw him arrive. No one lived long enough to report it. He stepped into the sand, twin-bladed saber dormant at his side, horns glinting beneath a scorched hood. He could feel it, a presence, a brightness that offended the dark Skywalker. Not the boy he once spared, but the man he now intended to destroy. Elsewhere, near the Lars homestead, Anakin stood beside a moisture vaporator, eyes closed, sensing a tremor in the Force. It was sudden, cold, sharp. A predator had entered the desert pod, stood in the shade of the homestead, watching him with concern. Another vision, she asked. No, Anakin muttered, his jaw tightening. Not a vision, a memory. Walking far out across the dunes, red eyes watched and smiled. The speeder roared over the dunes, trailing a storm of sand behind it. Anakin Skywalker leaned forward, cloak billowing, eyes locked on the horizon. The presence was unmistakable now, sharp and venomous in the Force. Darth Maul. It wasn't possible. Maul was dead. Obi-Wan had made sure of it, but the Force never lied. He slowed as the twin suns began to dip behind the distant cliffs, casting long shadows over the canyon ahead. Beggar's Gorge. The wind howled through the rock as if warning. Pim away. Anakin dismounted, stepping silently into the narrow ravine. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air changed. The heat dulled, the silence thickened, and then the hum, a deep, feral BZ, MMM, echoed through the canyon walls. From atop a jagged ledge, Maul emerged. No words, just rage, just purpose. He leaped, spinning mid-air as his crimson double-bladed saber ignited in a flare of fury. Anakin's lightsaber flashed to life just in time. Their blades met with a shockwave that kicked up dust and shattered stone. The desert held its breath as Jedi and Sith collided. Maul struck like a beast, brutal, fast, relentless. Anakin countered with power and precision, his footwork steady, his movements sharpened by war and loss. They danced in the canyon, red and blue clashing under the dying sun. You should have stayed buried, Anakin growled. Through clenched teeth, Maul snarled. Death is a lie, but vengeance is real. And he pressed the attack. The twin suns finally dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in cold shadow. The heat faded, but the fury did not. Anakin slid backward across the canyon floor, boots digging furrows into the sand. Sparks flew as Maul's saber scraped stone, a predator in motion, eyes burning, breath ragged and hungry. There was no restraint in his strikes, only wrath. Anakin parried high, rolled left, then countered with a brutal shoulder slam that sent Maul staggering. pew against the canyon wall. The impact left a crack in the stone and a smear of red, but Maul only laughed. "I feel your anger, Skywalker," he hissed, voice twisted with joy. "It coils beneath your skin like fire, just like your master, just like his master before him." Anakin's grip on his saber tightened. He pushed the voice from his mind. "Stay in the fight. Focus." They clashed again, blades flashing in arcs of crimson and sapphire, the hum of energy echoing like war drums. Maul vaulted off the canyon wall, spinning midair as both blades came down in a killing arc. Anakin met him with a blast of force energy that hurled Maul backwards through a pillar of sandstone. The Sith rose slowly, cloak torn, horns bleeding, but he smiled. "You're not just a Jedi," he growled. "You're something else, something darker." Anakin said nothing, but inside a storm swirled. Memories, pain, rage, all clawing for space within him. The battle had just begun, and Tatooine, once again, would bleed under the weight of destiny. A sudden gust swept through the canyon, lifting curtains of sand into the air. For a heartbeat, the warriors stood still, silhouettes blurred in the haze. Anakin's chest rose and fell, his eyes fixed on the enemy before him. Not just a Sith, not just a killer, but a scar from his past. Walking, "I buried your master," Maul sneered, slowly circling, crimson blade humming at his side. "And still your kind crawls across the galaxy, clinging to peace like it was ever real." Anakin's voice was cold, measured. "You mistake restraint for weakness." He moved fast. A powerful strike sent Maul reeling. Their sabers danced in a storm of light, cuts and counters, slashes and force pushes, each more desperate than the last. Maul flipped backward, perching on a high ledge like a beast surveying its prey. "You're stronger than I expected," he said, almost amused. "But I wonder how much of that is you, and how much is him." Anakin hesitated. A whisper slid through the Force, like a crack in his resolve. "I'm nothing like him. I'm not ... Maul lunged. His blade scraped Anakin's shoulder, searing through armor into skin. Anakin grunted, pain flashing across his face. But his counterattack was immediate, instinctual. He caught Maul mid-strike, shoved him hard with the Force, then hurled his saber like a bolt of lightning. Maul batted it away, barely. The saber spun back to Anakin's hand with a snap. He advanced slowly, burning eyes locked on Maul's. "I'm not afraid of what's inside me," Anakin said. "I control it." Maul's grin widened. For now, above them, the first stars blinked into existence. The canyon had become a crucible, and the Force stirred, watching. The wind howled down through Beggar's Gorge, carrying with it ancient whispers, the Force pulsing like a heart beneath the sands. The desert had seen death before, but tonight it bore witness to something far more dangerous. Clarity. Anakin stood in the center of the canyon, breathing steady despite the searing pain on his shoulder. His saber hummed low, not as a weapon, but as a warning. The blue light danced across his face, reflecting not fear, but resolve. Maul circled him again, slower now, calculating. His rage hadn't dimmed, but he understood what he was truly facing. "You're not the child I saw on Naboo," he spat. "You're something ... worse. Because I know what I am," Anakin replied, "and I don't run from it." Maul leaped. No banter, no hesitation. Their blades collided in a whirlwind of heat and fury. Maul struck from above. Anakin blocked low. Sand kicked up around them as they moved faster than the eye could follow, sabers leaving scars on stone. Cutting the night into shards of red and blue, Anakin twisted mid-duel, driving a hard elbow into Maul's gut, sending him stumbling. Before Maul could recover, a powerful force pull yanked his saber toward Anakin, nearly out of his grasp. Maul snarled and reignited the other side of his double blade, the second beam flaring to life. The canyon roared with renewed fury. Above them, the twin suns of Tatooine, now just below the horizon, cast long, mirrored shadows. Two warriors, two legacies, one judgment. They clashed again, this time in silence, not a word spoken. Only the rhythm of combat and the cry of metal on metal. And then a pause. Blades locked, faces inches apart. "You can't save what you'll become," Maul whispered. Anakin's eyes narrowed. "Maybe not, but I can end you before I do." He released a sudden surge of force energy, not anger, not hate, but will. Maul was blasted backward, crashing into a jagged spire. Dust erupted, and silence followed. Anakin stood alone in the dust-streaked gorge, chest rising and falling. He didn't relax. He knew Maul wasn't finished. Not yet. The dust hadn't even settled before the scream echoed across the canyon. Raw, feral, filled with centuries of hate. Maul surged from the rubble. His cloak was torn to ribbons. One horn shattered, face streaked with ash and blood. But his grip on the saber was tight, unwavering. His rage, now unshackled, burned with a madness few could fathom. "You think you've won, Skywalker," he bellowed, his voice echoing off the canyon walls like a death knell. "I've died once already. What can you possibly take from me?" Anakin didn't flinch. "I'm not here to take anything," he said calmly. "You came here to die." Maul charged, faster than before, with every ounce of fury and hate he had left. His strikes became erratic, wild, powerful enough to split stone, but reckless. Anakin shifted his stance. He let Maul burn. He let the Sith throw his wrath into the wind, countering with clean, precise movements. His blade sang a cold, controlled song, the dance of a Jedi walking the edge of a cliff. Maul's saber slammed down. Anakin sidestepped. A slash came from the left, blocked. A lunge forward, parried, and punished with a knee to Maul's ribs. The Sith stumbled. "You fight like a warrior," Maul gasped. "But you think like a Sith." Anakin stepped forward, blade glowing between them. "No," he said. "I think like a slave who broke his own chains." Maul lunged again, but this time Anakin was already moving. A spinning parry disarmed Maul's saber, sending it skidding across the sand. And then silence. Maul dropped to one knee, breathing hard, snarling like a wounded animal. Anakin stood over him, saber raised, not in anger, not in vengeance, but judgment. "You don't deserve a warrior's death," Anakin said. "You deserve to be forgotten." But Maul's laugh returned, hoarse, bitter, echoing. "Then do it. Strike me down. Let the darkness finish what it started in you." Anakin hesitated, not because of fear, but because of clarity. The choice before him wasn't about Maul. It was about himself. The wind had died, even the shifting sands of Tatooine seemed to pause, caught between two fates, one breathing, one broken. The canyon held its breath. Anakin stood over Maul, lightsaber ignited, humming low like a distant storm. Its blue light bathed the Sith's wounded face, painting his crimson skin in the color of everything he hated. Maul looked up, not pleading, not afraid, but daring. "Do it," he rasped. "End me. That's what you want." Anakin didn't move. The weight of the moment pressed against him harder than any blow Maul had struck. He could feel the heat of the blade in his hand. He could hear his own breath. He could feel the line he was standing on, thin as a whisper, sharp as a razor dot. One step forward. Bend. I become everything I swore I'd fight. Maul's lip curled. "You feel it, don't you? That shadow inside you. It calls to you." "I know it, because it called to me." Anakin stepped back, saber still ignited, but lowered. His expression was unreadable, not weakness, but control forged in fire. "You want to die," he said quietly, "not because you're defeated, but because death is the only thing left you don't understand." Maul's eyes flickered. Anakin deactivated his saber. The silence that followed felt deafening. "I won't be your executioner," he continued. "I'm not here to grant you meaning. You had your chance. You chose what you are." He turned. Maul, still kneeling, hissed through clenched teeth. "Walking away doesn't make you a Jedi, no," Anakin said without looking back. "But it keeps me human." He walked into the night, cloak flowing behind him, leaving the Sith warrior broken and howling at the stars. The Force stirred, not in triumph, not in celebration, but in grim recognition. The future had been tested, and for now had resisted the fire that sought to consume it. Night fell heavy on Tatooine, wrapping the sands in cold silence. The twin suns were gone, but their memory lingered, a fading glow on the canyons. Jagged edges. Anakin's boots sank into the sand with each step. He had left Maul behind, not dead, not redeemed, just left. And yet the fight hadn't ended. Not really. Inside, the storm still raged, quieter now, but no less real. His hand, the one that had held the saber above Maul's neck, trembled slightly as he walked beneath the stars. Was it mercy or weakness? The wind answered with a whisper not his own. "You showed restraint," came a voice behind him, familiar, ghostly. Anakin turned sharply. A figure shimmered in the shadows, not solid, not fully there, cloaked in the light of the Force. Bezot OBI-1. Not Yoda.Qui Gon. Master. Anakin breathed. Qui-Gon's expression was calm, but his presence held weight. You did what few could, Anakin. You denied hate a home, even when it was offered to you like a gift. Anakin frowned. He'll strike again. Yes, Qui-Gon said, but not today, and not because of you. They stood in silence, the canyon now far behind them. Anakin looked up at the stars. I don't know if I can hold the line forever. You're not meant to, Qui-Gon replied. Even the strongest need others. The Force is not a wall, Anakin. It's a bridge. And with that, he faded, a ripple in the wind, leaving Anakin alone once more. Far away, back in the canyon, Maul limped to his feet. Blood dried on his skin. The taste of failure bitter in his mouth. But in his eyes, the fire remained. He looked toward the night sky. I know what you are, Skywalker, he muttered. By, and so will he. High above Tatooine, in the void of space, a cloaked vessel hovered, silent, black, watching. Inside. A figure in shadow listened to the transmission Maul had sent. Only a few words came through. Skywalker, alive, more dangerous than expected. The figure smiled, eyes yellow in the dark. Soon, deep in the void above Tatooine, a fleet of ships from the Confederacy of Independent Systems cut through space, a growing shadow over the desert planet below. On the bridge of the flagship, Count Dooku watched coldly as a fresh intelligence transmission flickered to life. Skywalker has been located on Tatooine, an officer reported, voice tense. Dooku turned slowly, his piercing eyes narrowing. He is becoming a real threat, he said grimly. We cannot allow him to inspire the Jedi or the Republic any longer. Send the hunters, capture him, or eliminate him. Meanwhile, on Tatooine, Anakin felt the weight of the impending pursuit. Rumors of separatist hunters sweeping through the systems reached him, a shadow closing in. They see in me a symbol of hope, he thought, but also a target. The Force pulsed around him like a constant alarm, calling him to resistance. This was no longer just his fight. It was the Republic's battle against the darkness gathering. As the eyes of the separatists turned toward him, Anakin knew every step would be critical. The fight for Tatooine and the fate of the galaxy was far from over. The twin moons of Tatooine cast long shadows across the cracked desert floor as the final confrontation unfolded. The ruins of an ancient fortress became the battlegrounder, silent witness to the fate about to be decided. Anakin Skywalker stood tall, his blue lightsaber glowing steadily at his side. His eyes reflected the weight of his destiny and the burden of the choices he must make. From the dunes emerged Darth Maul, his scarred face twisted with rage and determination. Behind him, a squad of separatist assassins advanced, their weapons shimmering with deadly intent. Anakin's breath was steady as he ignited his blade, the hum cutting through the desert stillness. Maul attacked first, his twin red sabers spinning with ferocity, striking with wild power. Anakin met each assault with calm precision, deflecting the blows and countering with strikes that spoke of both skill and hope. The battle was fierce. Sand kicked up in storms around them as their sabers clashed under the glow of the moon's dots. The Separatists closed in. Anakin used the Force to send shockwaves that scattered the attackers. Buying himself precious moments, Padam's voice echoed in his reminder of what was at stake. With a final burst of strength, Anakin disarmed Maul, sending his blade spinning into the sand. Breathing heavily, Anakin deactivated his saber, standing over the fallen Sith. "This ends here," he declared with quiet resolve. Maul snarled, but made no move to resist as Anakin used the Force to bind him in place. The desert fell silent once more. Anakin turned his gaze to the horizon. The war was far from over, but this victory marked a turning point. The Force flowed through him light and hope in the vast darkness. Tatooine, scarred and unforgiving, had witnessed the rise of a hero who walked the narrow path between shadow and salvation.